My name is Terrell Parham, and this is my Thiel Talk on the rise of amateur journalism. Throughout the history of man, people have always been wondering what is going on in the world around them. People are generally curious about what's going on here, there, nationally, worldwide. But with the growth of mass media and becoming more and more reliable, people are starting to rely on these mediums to get their news and information. Journalism is becoming a huge part of American culture. Journalists are respected around their field, such as Walter Cronkite, Dan Rather, even Katie Couric, more recent years. From newspaper to radio to television, and now even the growth of the internet, there are ways to get information more and more faster. With more and more people starting to get their own news sources and starting to get more information with the new wave of social media that's going on in the world. The general public has been more fascinated in the social media craze, and professional journalists are becoming more concerned about what is going on within their world. With the growth of new media, there are different ways that professional journalists are trying to stay relevant with the rise of bloggers and amateur journalists. My Thiel Talk will discuss these issues. Ever since the boom of internet, there have been the faster ways of communication in the late 90s. With computers and technology taking over for daily life, the news is getting out more faster to the general public. A way that news sources are starting to use this new media is by putting their stories on websites. It is important to have their breaking news out faster than any other their competitors or competing news sources. It is important that the news companies start utilizing this feature of the internet. But it is a major stress on news reporters. They want to get all their necessary facts and information before they start reporting on the news. But with this time crunch, with the online resources, it is more important they get this information faster, quicker, and hopefully the sources are more reliable. But it does give the journalists quite a good time to write a quality article or a good news story. The shift of news companies that are using Twitter and other forms of social media could be compared to the boom of technology and internet of the late 1990s into the early 2000s. The news companies were afraid to put their information online in this boom. They were feeling that the revenue that would have been generated would have been lost. But newspapers and other news organizations have found ways to get the necessary revenue, even gain more revenue as these new technologies emerge. Like I said before, the companies want to protect their revenue, but it also helps the journalists who actually go out and protect and get their facts in order to protect their career. Now we're moving to more cross-media aspects, with news shows trying to capitalize on this new form of media, including newscasts. Companies want to use more integration within their newscasts. They want their viewers to interact within their own shows, but it makes it more difficult for directors and producers to filter out this on maybe some kind of unwanted comments or opinions that are not necessarily appropriate or can go with the story. One example of viewer interaction is the use of calling in news stories into the news company, and also even taking pictures or recording video for them. That's one of the major ways that news companies are starting to use more of viewer interaction. Another form of audience interaction is on online stories. They're able to post and also comment on that news story, providing their opinion and also what they think of the news story concerning how well it's written, how well it's told, if the facts are right. So it's an important way for the company to gauge their audience. It is a new form of gatekeeping, as the news companies have to filter out these comments that aren't appropriate or even spam, or also the things that they don't necessarily need in their news stories. News companies are using these new integration ideas is to tease stories on their website in order for you to watch their main maybe 6 o'clock news segment or the 5 o'clock news segment or even 11 o'clock news segment in order to see the full updated story. The 18 to 34-year-old demographic is very important for news companies because that is what advertisers usually focus their attention on. And if they're interested in seeing the news for that way, then they'll get more ad revenue, they'll get more viewership, and hopefully get more money into the company. Integration is becoming more and more crucial in the new media landscape. Although there's many people that consider real journalism or the professional art of news reporting is hurt by these new changes that are going around all over the world. Journalists are only accustomed to have only one chance to print a news story and not be able to update it or correct it once it's made out to the public. That's why they want to take their time in order to make news stories, check their facts, check their sources, make sure that it's right. But like I said before, with the time crunch of the 24/7 news cycle, it makes it harder for journalists to do that. Now I'm talking about the growth of citizen journalism. Generally, when people learn about an event that's breaking, they want to know all the facts, all the information that's related to the story, and they want to know it as soon as possible. Citizen journalists have been around for a very long time. Thomas Paine and other pamphleteers in the early part of this country used pamphlets and other forms of media in order to get their ideas of this new democracy flowing all over the country. Going to more recent times, going to the 20th century with the JFK assassination or the beating of Rodney King, are two very high-profile examples of citizen journalists that weren't necessarily covered in real time by the professional news companies. With the media industry struggling to keep profits high, it is important to utilize this new resource of people stirring a curiosity or even trying to report the news by themselves. With the media industry struggling to keep their profits, they have to have cuts within their professional news program. So they have to cut out getting coverage of the local, maybe suburban areas all over there, the major market. And they have to still report that news, but they have to have a new way of getting that news into the public. So many people have decided to have a central editor, central director in order to report the rural, suburban news in order to maybe get that coverage that they need, but also help train these citizen journalists in order to make a correct news story or cover properly the event that's going on. Couple of these major websites that have come out of these cuts of the professional newsroom are the Huffington Post and Patch.com. The Patch is one of the major sources of getting these rural areas that are around these national major markets. They staff a couple editors, a couple professional writers, but they also have these amateur journalists that love to write, love to know what's going on in their town, so that general public can know what is going on in their town. It is a way to keep the professional editors and professional journalists employed while teaching these new amateur journalists. To conclude my Thiel Talk, although people are relying more and more on citizen journalists to get their news, and professional journalists are kind of being phased out of the world, they are still an important part of the media world. They need to train these journalists in order to get the right sources, get the right stories right, get the stories out in a timely manner, and also check their facts. Citizen journalism is not going away. Neither is news reporting. And hopefully these media outlets and journalism remain a major part of society. Thank you.